Welcome to a special episode of CouchSide, a part of the LitTube family. My name is Mario, this is Gerald, and today we're going to be discussing education in the U.S. This is going to be part one of a series of episodes, and today we're going to be discussing technology in the education system in this country. So over the past 10, 15 years or so, we've seen a huge uprise in the use of technology, the facilitation of the internet also, the rise of smartphones in this country, and it's caused a lot of ripples in our society, also amongst our youth, and it's drastically changed the way that we've taught individuals in the society.
Yeah, I would say mostly every kid nowadays grew up in a time where technology was abundant, whereas most people over the age of about 22, 23, grew up in a time where we're born into an age where technology wasn't as advanced as it was, and then, boom, technology abundance. Like, there was so much of a dependency on technology. And you see that in the education world now. Actually, for this show, I was able to talk to two educators that work in Baltimore County, and just there's so many pros and cons to the technology where it's a pro with the communication with parents. Parents now have a better idea of what's going on in their kids' education. Children have so much more access to certain things that maybe we didn't have growing up. I know for a fact that in the school system, in Baltimore County at least, every kid has their own tablet right now.
Really? Yes.
Every kid has their own tablet. There are things called Promethean Boards now, where the old chalkboard is virtually done.
Yeah, I've heard of the smart boards, and they just started rolling that out, I'd say like in the past 5-6 years or so. And I mean, for the most part, it's given people a huge access to knowledge and learning, but at the same time, it's had its disadvantages where people become too dependent on it, and that's one of the big issues.
I think you got a case where, on this smartphone right here, the knowledge of the world is at the tip of my fingers. I can find out anything I want by asking a question. So I wonder how much, where we were taught that you have to remember this stuff, all these facts, they were just crammed into your brain. And now I'm wondering how much of it is that, because it's just like, well, I can go on the internet and find it.
Yeah.
I can just click of a button in that moment. You remember the old saying where teachers like, you're not going to have a calculator when you get out into the real world. Well, you know what? There's an app for that.
Yeah, that's true. But at the same time, it's also become like a sort of drug in a way.
Yeah.
Because people just want that instant gratification.
Yes. People are so addicted to these technologies. And I can't lie, I'm on Facebook all day. I mean, I work in the tech field, and you can just see how the society now has become so addicted to it. And I wonder...
Pokemon Go.
Shots fired. Yeah, that's why you're not even at level 5 yet. Anyways, I wonder, when we're looking at 15 years down the road, what's going to happen now that you have a generation of kids that have been brought up on this technology where it's such an integral part of their education. Where's it going to go? What is the world going to be like 10, 15 years down the road?
I hope we don't end up like WALL-E.
Yeah.
Where we're all in those.
Oh, what was that movie? Oh my goodness. It was a movie. Do you remember what it was?
What?
It was like in the future, and everybody was just dumb. I can't remember the name.
Idiocracy?
Yes, that was the movie.
That's a documentary, sir.
Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Yeah, but that's the world we're heading towards, and it's kind of heartbreaking. But speaking with those educators, who I will not name, I know that there's, cost of just, giving these kids all this technology.
Right.
All this is costing a lot of money, but then you see cutbacks in so many things.
Right.
Like, actually, this is a personal story. I know like a lot of teachers, actually one in particular, they go out to Target, go out to these stores and buy their own supplies. These supplies aren't given to them.
That's true.
There's no budget for the supplies that they get.
Mm-hmm.
So that requires countless time where you have to make your own, you know, your own name tags, your own banners to decorate this room. To, you know, and some of these kids, especially the one educator I spoke to, actually teaches at a alternative school for kids with special needs, and in a lot of cases, the parents aren't that much involved. Where a lot of these kids don't even have certain supplies. So the teachers are going out and getting you.
Right.
There's no auxiliary budget that these kids can be, you know, supplied, but every kid has a tablet.
That's true.
These tablets are the most important thing, but these kids barely know how to write their own name. I mean, they don't even teach cursive in school anymore.
Yeah. And that's unfortunate too, because the reliability on technology, it's going to make a lot of skills obsolete.
Yeah.
Like the ability to, like you said, write effectively, balance your checkbook, something like that.
I remember actually in high school senior year, I had a class called personal finance. I hated that class, but looking back, it's probably the most beneficial class I had in high school. You're thinking of Pythagorean theorems, like when the heck am I going to use that in the real world? You know, like, but that personal finance class was probably the most beneficial class I wish I had paid more attention to.
True.
You know, I think, you know, we're, and this, of course, is a subject for a different show. When you get into the testing aspect, they're crammed so much information that applies to this test that will get them into this university or this university, or, you know, judges how the teachers are teaching. We're teaching kids to test, not really how to function.
That's true.
You know, and I mean, when you really think about it, if we're teaching them to test, but we're giving them the technology to really think. You know, technology's there to think for them. They don't even have to think anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's kind of ironic too, because you give someone a gateway to so much knowledge and so much information, but at the same time, all this standardization is limiting creativity.
Yes.
And it's preventing people from being individuals and expressing themselves.
Yeah, I mean, you hear all the time that they're cutting art programs, you know? They're cutting music in schools, and I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, you know, there's so much more to life than, you know, math and English. You know, I mean, for example, this show alone, this set, was built by a kid, not a kid, a grown man, but that went to school for film.
Right.
You know, I mean, you have so many things. I mean, I'm a writer. I love creative writing, and those are some of my favorite classes in high school. Vocal ensemble. I used to sing in high school. You know, if they had a vocal ensemble, geez, I don't know what I would have done. I used to love choirs. I mean, I'm not going to lie.
That's true.
You know, I used to play football and sing in a choir. But if you take that away, you know, a lot of times these arts, especially for kids that aren't, you know, it gives them a sense of accomplishment, you know, these arts, especially for the kids that aren't scoring good on the test. You know, I wasn't good at testing in high school, but I felt so much of a sense of accomplishment, you know, learning how to sing and read notes and going to this singing competition, that singing competition. And I don't know, it just did wonders for me. And, you know, I couldn't imagine if you took that away.
Right, right. But I mean, on a more positive note, you did bring a good point, was that kids that do have issues with communication or learning disabilities, technology does give them the ability to express themselves more effectively, to be able to communicate and reach out to people that might have the same issues that they have, and be able to make a
collaboration,
a stronger connection with someone as well.
Yeah, and I do love that. But there was another part actually that I remember reading in the notes from the two that we interviewed. You know, they were saying how much of a benefit it is that with technology the parents are able to communicate with the teacher, but sometimes it can be a little bit too much communication.
Right.
You know,
there's certain things as boundaries.
Yeah. I mean, it's even the case, like, I've heard stories, actually. I have a lot of teacher friends. I don't, you know, I just somehow happen to befriend a lot of teachers. You know, they'll tell me that, like, you know, the trend, I remember when I was a kid, I used to get in trouble, and my parents would be all over me. Oh, they'd be down my throat. They'd be like, well, why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? Now it's like, they're almost getting mad at the teacher.
Right.
The kid's not being held responsible. Now the teacher is, well, why did little Jimmy do this, you know?
Another thing that you also have to consider also is, you know, kids are going to be an imprint of whatever behaviors their parents show.
Yeah.
So, you know, the teacher isn't going to be there the entire time. They're not there 24/7. So if the child has a bad home life, those bad habits are going to carry on to school as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's 100% true. And that's why it breaks my heart, too, because, I mean, you've heard the stories about underpaid teachers, you know. And then, I mean, and on top of the fact that they're underpaid and they have to do so much more now with technology, because with technology, the curriculums are always changing.
Right.
Almost every year, the curriculum is changing. So it's like you got to find a new way of teaching. You got to do this, you got to do that. And then on top of that, you get so much flack from the parents.
Yeah. School publishers are having a field day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
New edition, $200.
Jeez. Don't make me think about college. Oh my gosh, I spend so much money on books. But I think, you know, I think technology is a great thing. Like, we're blessed to live in a very technologically advanced society where, I mean, every day something new comes out. But it's also heartbreaking to see how much ingenuity and just, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, just how much boundaries are being pushed. Like, I think the boundaries are being set in a way that kids aren't taught to think outside the boundaries. Yeah. They're taught to think, answer A, B, C, or D.
Well, then again, this is still in its infancy.
It is.
We've only experienced, you know, the internet boom in 15 years or so, and I don't know. Who knows where it'll take us?
Who knows? Who knows?
That's true.
It is.
So that concludes our episode for this week. Make sure you like at the bottom of this screen.
And subscribe. And follow us all over social media. My name is Gerald. This is Mario. Thanks for tuning in.